Hey everyone, welcome to the Goody Reader Radio Show. My name is Michael. It's July 25th, 2018, and we have some news and stuff for you guys today. Talk to you a little bit about some new devices that are coming out soon, Android P, and a whole lot more. So, if you have been a loyal YouTube watcher, we have been posting a little bit more irregularly. Traditionally, we in like 2018, 2017, we posted a video a day. Peter's been in Japan, I guess, for like the last 2 months, and so he's been doing some content, but I don't actually like have access to the studio because like he's like the only one sort of with access. So he's been doing some stuff from Japan, and we've kind of been posting a backlog of stuff that we've been meaning to post for like the last little while. So he is coming back at the end of July, so we'll do more videos then. We have the Remarkable, the Sony digital paper, the new one that came out in 2018, the 10.3 inch one, the CP one. We have the Onyx Book Note S, and a ton of other sort of prosumer, stylus, higher cost like displays. Like, to give you an example, like you can get a Kindle Paperwhite for like $99 for the most part. These devices cost like $3.99 and up all the way to like $7.99. So if you're gonna be paying that type of money, you probably want to know what the best ones are in the market. So we're gonna be doing a bunch of videos where we compare multiple ones against each other at the same time, give you a sense of stylus responsiveness, what type of features does each one bring to the table, and talk about like the screen tech. Using a stylus on a larger screen, you traditionally want to go with a glass screen, whereas a lot of them have sort of flexible plastic screens, and the harder you press, the more likely you are to first damage the stylus nib, but also if some styluses like the Sony has like almost like a pencil type thing, and it's kind of grainy, and if you press really hard on your screen, you're actually going to scratch it. So a lot of people just buy screen protectors, but that's sort of the purpose of these series of videos, is to like give you sort of a professional grade overview of what are the better ones, why would you buy this over the other one. It's not necessarily saying, oh, this one's the ultimate or this one's the best, we're going to do that. So that's sort of like one among many videos that we're going to do. Speaking of sort of e-readers, eonebook is one company we've been super bullish on. They released a Kickstarter product at the beginning of the year. It was a dual screen, 7.8 inch, so two e-ink screens, graphed together, open and closed like a real book. It had like a book jacket and everything. It was a manga reader, and it only came with one manga. It didn't have an SD card, no way to load in your own content. It came with the entire sort of, I think, 12 volume series of Fist of the North Star, and it was the original art for digital. So if you have read manga like online, like sort of scanlation or pirated manga, the level's not that great quality. Even sort of online manga artists that sort of do like webcomics types of things, their art's not that great, whereas like huge manga that's sold like millions of copies, artistic level is really high. So Progress Technologies, the guys behind the eonebook, they managed to get like the original digital art, and so it looks tremendous. So they're coming out with a second generation. Okay, so the problem with the first generation one is that it was sold on Kickstarter like for like a 3-month window. If you didn't order it off Kickstarter, you didn't get one. It was mainly in Japan that you got it, although the manga was both in English and Japanese. Check out our videos that we did on it, and read our review. I'll link to it in the description of this thing. So if you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, you can go to goodyreader.com and you can just, type in a search bar like eonebook, and you can check out our coverage on that. But our review is really solid. It was one of my better ones that I did. So they're coming out with a second generation model. It's not going to be on Kickstarter. It's only available in like 5 bookstores in Japan. But this one has an SD card, and it also has 5 manga series now. And what you do is you buy the manga from like Progress Technologies on the E1 book page, so you can buy just one device, and you can just buy SD cards that are just like packed with like 2 point whatever gigs of manga, the entire authorized series. And Progress basically just like goes to publishers saying, we want to bundle this. You'll be compensated like a lot for it, more than they would be if they just sold manga like individually or did like an unlimited program or something like that. So on a like financial level, this makes sense. You sell one piece of hardware, and then you actually sell the SD cards that have the content on it, and you kind of like bypass the whole piracy on it. Now the question with the SD card is, what is the format that the manga is available in? Is it just like CBZ, CBR, or is it like a proprietary E1 book format? If that's the case, you can like sideload in your own manga on this, which actually makes it more of a compelling value proposition, instead of just reading on a single screen like your Kindle or Kobo. They both have sort of manga functionality. You can have like a dual screen 7.8, one panel on one side, one panel on the other side, and you can do something like that. It remains to be seen if they'll have it. I'm actually trying to talk to them about making Good e-Reader the authorized North American sort of outside Japan distributor, because they have a cool product. They just like really suck at marketing it. And we've been like selling e-readers since like 2012. We did it under the Shop e-readers brand, and then eventually we started selling it on our Good e-Reader on our website like about a year and a half ago. We started doing that. So rather than diverting someone to a new brand, we just thought, hey, everyone visits Good e-Reader, might as well just like have everything under like one roof, our app store, our store, like all that type of stuff. So that's sort of the story about E1 book. Android P is coming out fairly soon. It's going to come out this fall, but they just released like the final beta yesterday. It's beta 4. Android P is sort of the latest Google operating system, so it's like Google Android 9 for the most part. It contains a number of visual and functional changes across the entire operating system. Multitasking now shows a preview of each app's entire window. The quick shortcuts pull down and settings menu also got a makeover. You can easily edit and annotate screenshots, and there's rounded corners everywhere. There's going to be digital wellness features, app timers, a dashboard that breaks down your smartphone usage. That isn't going to be in Android 9, but it'll be available in Android 9.1. This is generally like when Android is going to be fully upgraded once Google releases like their new tablet, their new smartwatch that they're rumored to be making, their new phone, their new Chromebook Pixel 2. So Google is going to refresh everything in their catalog. So a lot of people like their Nexus phones or the Nexus tablets. But Google's doing some other things like smartwatches. I've written about it on the blog. It seems pretty cool. Don't really know a ton about it at this point, but it's pretty well. Google has always sort of made products that really enhance its overall operating system, and they recently changed Android Wear to Wear OS, and so in order to really get more companies to use it, Google has to sort of release like a flagship product to get people excited about it. People start buying that. People must start buying other Android-driven smartwatches. There is a massive list of every change in Android with Android P on Android Police. They have like a massive list with like pictures and like videos and like everything like that. Everything from like smart replies to how you dismiss notifications. Like everything is changing in this on this OS with on sort of a fundamental graphic level, and with that comes like a lot of underlying changes as well. In the link to this radio show, we'll also tell you a link to that as well. In terms of ebooks and digital content, Kobo has been one of the closest Amazon competitors out there. I'd probably say that they're only serious global competitor. There's a bunch of minor players that do well in specific regions, but when it comes to second in the e-reader and the e-book space, Kobo's it. They launched Kobo Originals in early 2008. The program features audiobooks and ebooks by self-published authors as well as established publishing, like authors who are attached to like major labels, publishing companies. They have done this in France, the Netherlands, and Canada, and they have. I've been told by a number of librarians that Kobo has quietly included all of their own content into the Overdrive catalog. Overdrive and Kobo are both owned by Rakuten, and so the two sides have been working closer together over the last few years. There's like about, I know of 14 titles, both ebook and audiobook, that are going to be doing, that are in like Overdrive right now. I'm trying to find out an exact number from the head of like publishing relations at Kobo. Kobo Originals sort of falls under her scope, so she's basically like the king of Kobo, or the queen of Kobo Originals because it's a girl. And I've reached out to like Overdrive, so I'll probably do an update on that in terms of exact numbers and everything like that. So yeah, I'm trying to track down the exact numbers, but I do know 100% that Kobo Originals is on Overdrive, and this is sort of the first time that a company who has made original content, in terms of an ebook company, who is on Overdrive. Like there's self-published authors from Smashwords and like other things that include their stuff in Overdrive, but it's in a special section. Kobo Originals is basically stacked side by side with all the other library books. So what is very interesting about this is, what does this do for Audible Originals? Because if Kobo original audiobooks that Kobo has produced are in the library, and in U.S. libraries, you can actually, when you borrow ebooks from the library, you can wirelessly send them to your Kindle. In the U.S. is the only market that allows you to do that, which makes the Kindle a valued investment for like library books. Like if you go to your library website in the U.S., there's like a send a Kindle option there and instructions like on how to do it. In Canada, you can't do that. In Europe. Every country outside the U.S., you can't really do that. So it'd be interesting to see if Audible Originals will be distributed to the greater Overdrive catalog too, because you got to think about it. Kobo Originals launched basically as like an added draw to do business with the company. Kobo has the same ebooks that you can buy on Amazon or iBooks or Google Books and a myriad of other things. So how does an online company that sells books differentiates itself from the competition? Well, you start producing your own original content, and you either give it away for free to people who are like, members. Like Kobo Plus is an online subscription program that's available in the Netherlands. All Kobo original content is available to be just streamed and downloaded for free. Kobo doesn't really have this unlimited subscription system outside the Netherlands. Netherlands is like a test bed for them. Publisher like pushback, how to deal with like people who are on the fence. Netherlands and like the Nordic countries in general pretty open to the idea of unlimited lending because of the companies like Storytel and other companies that have like risen in the past few years that have like either like an unlimited model light where you're on a credit system, or you just have like full on, you pay $99.99 a month or whatever the fee is, and you get access to the entire catalog. And this provides like a ton of useful business intelligence information. But Audible Originals, one of the benefits of paying Audible a monthly subscription fee, Audible runs on the credit-based system, so you pay varying amounts of money per month. You get X number of credits per month. The more you spend, the more credits that you get. But Audible Originals is like an added bonus where if you're a paid Audible member, you get free access to audio originals. It's like audio plays, ensemble type audiobook casts, reading, say, like Lord of the Rings or something like that. It's podcast. It's like mystery type things. It's like a lot of kind of short form original content, and they kind of give it away for free as an incentive to do business with them, because again, there's a lot of companies in the audiobook field. Audiobooks.com, Kobo Audiobooks, Google Audiobooks, like iBooks with their audiobook section. I mean, there's no shortage of audiobook retailers, and this is just in the States. Like, there's a ton of different companies, like in Brazil, like little startups from there. There's startups everywhere that are offering this, like, selling digital content, and so you have to differentiate yourself in the market, and the one way that you do that is with original content. Kobo pretty well did it because Audible's doing it, and they have to keep pace. They can't let Audible out innovate them, and so it'd be interesting to see if Amazon will see Kobo doing different things with like Overdrive, and they'll try to do something as well, because if they start including Audible original content and Overdrive at the beginning of each Audible like original, it says like, this is a production of Audible for all your audiobooks needs. Visit audible.com for more information. So it's like a way that you sort of leverage your free existing content that you retain ownership of in a way to promote your ecosystem. So I do think that, and don't forget, when people borrow stuff from the library, I mean, Audible is paid for that as well. So it's a way that they can sort of double dip. They're offering it for free for paid members. So it's not like they're selling this stuff individually, much like Kobo Originals. You're not paying for this stuff individually. It's more or less free as a perk of doing business with the company. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of this is kind of, the Audible, I mean, this is sort of the landscape as I've kind of laid it out to you, and it's something that a lot of people kind of don't talk about, but that's sort of how it is right now. I do have an upcoming review, or an interview rather, with the president of e-ink, which I'm totally stoked about. It was like the first time I've really gotten direct access to him. So he's sort of like, he's sort of the man in the high castle. So I asked him some pretty hard-hitting questions. I should be publishing, and I just got a response back today. So that's why I'm kind of mentioning it, because it's something upcoming of what I'm going to do. So e-ink is sort of they're the last man standing for e-paper. Early on in the e-reader revolution, there was a ton of companies involved in the e-paper space. LG, Epson, Bridgestone, Pixelqui, Plastic Logic. I mean, Hanvon was doing interesting things. There was all sorts of companies involved in the e-paper space. Because from like 2007 to like 2012, it was like the Wild West. There was no, e-ink wasn't the established juggernaut. They were just like one of many. There were some well-funded people that were trying to compete with them, but slowly, as Amazon did a relationship with e-ink, as Kobo did a relationship with e-ink, they couldn't get the customers that they needed to really kind of innovate e-ink, because e-ink in the early years, they were doing like Visplex, Pearl HD, Carta HD, Triton 1, Triton 2, Advanced e-color display, Prism, Spectra. I mean, they were doing a lot of things, but they were doing it because they needed to constantly innovate in order to if they didn't out-innovate the competition and they were just sort of relying on maybe one or two technologies, the e-reader landscape in 2018 might be quite different. We might have like 3 or 4 different players there, but e-ink outmanaged to managed to out innovate them. And so slowly, Bridgestone stopped making it. Pixel Kui, Mary Lou Jepsen, who was in charge of running it, she left the company and became like, I think she's like one of the head honchos at Google right now. She's had different job titles over the years. I think she's part of the innovation fund, like, in charge of like pretty high level stuff. And so more people like were leaving these companies and working for like the competition. Some of them went to like Amazon. Some of them like just got out of it or went to different departments, like Bridgestone, like the tire company. They made e-paper screens. They were actually pretty freaking cool. They were all like 14, 15 inches. And this was like 2011, when like the Kindle was 6 inches, Kobo was 6 inches, Barnes & Noble was 6 inches, and they were making these giant screens, really kind of ahead of their time. And yeah, so E-Ink out-innovated them in the early years and outlasted them, getting like the big contracts with like the Amazons and the Barnes & Nobles and the Kobo of the world. And so since they're the last man standing, one argument that I hear a lot is that E-Ink has lost its innovation spirit. It's sort of like if you're a wrestling fan and you kind of grew up like in the 2000s, there was the whole like Monday Night Wars, WCW versus WWF, now WWE. Once WCW folded, WWE got most of the talent. They're the sort of number one global wrestling company, but they are not really innovating. They have their own in-ring style. Most of the matches look exactly the same. They don't really take a lot of risks. And then because they're the number one company and they have been for so long, they can just usually just do what they do, and they don't really have any competition, so it doesn't really matter anymore. They have the WWE network now, so pay-per-views are kind of irrelevant right now. It's just like it's content. The match qualities don't really matter anymore, which is like why like 90s wrestling versus the Attitude Era versus the Monday Night Wars, that was sort of like the pinnacle of American wrestling at the time. But because WWE has been complacent for so long, this has led to the rise of our like I'm talking about the companies relevant today. So it's like ROH, and then there's New Japan, and New Japan pretty well has some of the best talent, and they have the best matches out of any wrestling promotion in the world. It's been a number of really good Young Bucks matches. There's been Kenny Omega matches, Naito. These guys are wrestling like 5-star matches many different times in a year. And they're a rising force. They have their own subscription service now. They're starting to get pretty big. And there is some guys like on the indie circuit that Amazon's looking to poach, kind of smaller organizations like the Matt Riddles of the world. I mean, they're WWE has sort of recognized the rise of these companies, and they're trying to poach talent now, and they're stacking NXT with like really young guys. But with E-Ink, and this is sort of the parallel, is that they've been number one so long that they're super complacent now. They're using the average e-reader that you'll buy, so the Kindle Oasis 2s, the Kobo Clara HD, the Barnes & Noble Nook Low Light 3. They're using E-Ink Carta HD screens that were made in 2014. They're using processors that were made in 2011 and 2012, except for the latest generation Kindle Oasis, which is using an IMX7 dual-core processor. But almost every e-reader on the market are running single-core processors from 2011, E-Ink screens from like 2013/2014. It's really their innovation has stalled, and I pulled no punches during my interview because I was like, I explained all of this, and I'm like, E-Ink as a singular entity. Their innovation is stalled because they're trying to get your hands in many different cookie jars. You're trying to do luggage tags. You're trying to do solar panel, the bus stop signs. You're trying to like do the Internet of Things. They said that by like 2020, 20% of their global revenue but will be in China from the catch-all phrase, the Internet of Things. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. I'm trying to get them to tell me, what does this mean? Because whenever you're doing all this stuff, it's just buzzwords. Internet of Things, the wearable space. I mean, those are just buzzwords that the industry uses when they don't want to explain what they're actually going to do. So I'm trying to get details on exactly what are their plans. What are they trying to do? How are they going to innovate? Are they even interested in innovating anymore, or are they just trying to expand their revenue stream? Continue just plugging along like they're doing, not really doing anything new, because like, you know, they've been making record revenues for about the last year and a half, like on a quarter by quarter basis. And so they only had one quarter that of 2018 that didn't do so well, that sort of broke almost that 2-year trend, because they purchased SES Image Tag, was like a company that made e-ink badges that had like near field technology, so you could put two badges together and transfer contact information. It's like luggage tags, it's like smart jewelry, things like that. And so they bought that company because they wanted to make a more serious play for like the Internet of Things space. And I also wanted to find out what's the state of affairs regarding them and Sony's relationship. Sort of in mid 2017, they did like a partnership with Sony where they were going to like leverage Sony's things and e-ink's things in order to help customers get things faster to market. Aside from like the initial press release, I think it was called Linify, Linify. I don't know any product that they actually released. They said that they were going to focus on e-notebooks, but from my understanding, they're not. E-ink never kind of releases its own e-readers. They sort of just like make the e-paper displays and they have them available for customers to do whatever the F they want with it. Sony, who knows? Like, who knows what this co-partnership is? Has there been any tangible products made? Have they got any orders? What did they do for marketing? If I say want to go to e-ink and say, hey, I want to make a smart bracelet, can I work with you in Sony? Who do I talk to? What's the minimum order quality? What's the advantage of working with this co-branded partnership over a company like Netronics or over like a Jezatech? What are the benefits of me doing that, and what's your pitch? So I'm trying to find this out, because like a lot of this news for e-ink, they have like an initial press release and then they don't mention it ever again. And they try to just, who knows what's happening with it. And, being pretty well the only journalist involved in like this e-ink, e-paper segment that's really involved in it, it's my job. I mean, I don't have a side job. Good e-reader is all I do. So it's all I do. And so I'm a journalist dedicated to e-readers, which some people say is a dying product, but I don't give an F, ebooks and e-paper. So I'm trying really hard to kind of find out all these answers. I mean, if anything, just for me, I really kind of just want to find out what is happening after the initial press release. What are they actually going to do? What does this mean? Like, 20% of your revenue in China by 2020. It's like 2 years away. You're building something new in Japan, like a new sort of like research park. What are you doing there? Like, what is your plans to do it? Who knows if they'll actually answer me, but these are questions I think that people want to know, because for Good e-reader, sure, when a press release comes out, it's like, this is kind of interesting. I'll write about it. But months later, when it's never mentioned again, it's like, hey, what's up with this? And I ping my press, my PR contacts, and they're like, oh, we haven't heard anything. Do you want to talk directly with E-Ink? I'm like, sure. And then like 4 weeks goes by before I even like hear a reply, and we both get busy, and so it sort of gets swept under our rug. So I've really kind of reached out to the CEO of E-Ink, Frank Coe, and to Johnson Lee, who's the president of E-Ink, to get direct contact with them, because it's the only way that I'm really gonna kind of get these like unfiltered answers. And because E-Ink isn't like $1 billion company, I find that their leadership is a little bit more approachable, and I could get them to talk with me. We had like a lot of discussions before we even kind of agreed to do the interview. Whereas like, say if I want to speak with like Jeff Bezos, good luck. If I wanted to speak with like, who's in charge of Google, like, Microsoft, I'd never be able to even get close to them. But, a company, I find even Barnes and Noble, it's hard to get to talk with anyone. The head of digital, I've been trying for a year and a half to talk to him, and it's always like, oh, we could do the interview on such and such a date. Oh, he got busy with meetings. Can we do this later and determine it later? So I get regular access to like Kobo and Onyx and Icarus and like all these other companies, from smaller to mid-level companies. Amazon, I can get access to people who I know I want to get access to. It's not like, can I speak with, can I get some answers about what's next for the Kindle? No. But if I asked to speak with somebody specifically, they could arrange it. So I published an awesome interview with like the head of Amazon Publishing and the person in charge of Kindle Signals. It's like the same girl again. It's like all these women are like in charge of like all these like original content productions. It's like women in charge of Kobo, women in charge of like Amazon. A lot of the top publishers, all these divisions are run by women. The top executive positions are all men, of course, but it's like kind of awesome to see like all these women doing these really high level stuff, and I totally respect them because it's stuff I couldn't do. And I had an interview with her, but I was only able to ask who she was, because I was like, well, I knew the old editor of Kindle Singles, but he left like 3 years ago. So who's in charge of it now? And it took me like 2 months to find out who was in charge of it, because it's not actually documented anywhere who's in charge of it. Like, it wasn't on LinkedIn, it wasn't on the web, it wasn't on Amazon's like internal, who are the executives in charge of it. She wasn't even mentioned. So I had to move mountains to find out who was in charge of it. And then eventually I pinged my PR contact. I'm like, yo, I want to speak to this girl. Here's her name. Here's the department she's like in. Can you do it? So she's like, okay, here's her email. Contact her there. And now, that's for Amazon. That's what you got to do. You got to know who you want to speak with. And it has to be someone not at the top of the mountain, like not a Jeff Bezos or any of his lieutenants, but anybody kind of in charge of like these little things you can kind of get access to. So it's sort of my job to get access. So that was like a little info on like how I go about my like journalistic endeavors to try to score interviews. It's not like bang and bang. It's like, for these big interviews that I do, it's months. It takes months to get in contact with these people, find holes in their schedule, get them on the phone, and then do like follow-up emails, like based on, when you do a phone call, a lot of journalists will record the phone call. For me, I just like talk with them and I just retain all the key points. I don't even take notes during a phone call. I used to do that when I first started out, but then there's like these like super long pauses in between what they said, like a question I asked and the question they answered. But like usually it flows like a natural conversation when you're talking on the phone with someone, and I found like it detracted from the conversation when I was taking notes. So I kind of freeform talk and I know enough about the questions that I want to ask that I take the main points of like the answers, and then any clarification that I need on specific things, like if it's how many ebooks have you published from this date to this date. I'm not going to ask them that on the phone, but I will answer that in an email, because I'd like to have that email information handy, both for that article but for future articles. So when I talk about the greater ebook industry, I could be like, according to Amazon sources, they did this, and it's like based on those interviews that I did and specific figures that were in emails that I could sort of make reference to at a later date. So when you work as a journalist, especially like as an indie journalist doing your own thing, kind of requires like a deft hand. And that's sort of like why on a daily basis we might publish like 4 or 5 different articles, but we have like at any given time 6 or 7 videos that we're kind of getting ready to shoot, where I talked to Peter about, okay, these products are coming down the pipe. These are review samples that are coming to us. One's arriving on Thursday, one's arriving on Monday, one's arriving next Wednesday. Let's film 2 weeks from now on a Saturday. And then that way we kind of do up the film schedule. At the same time, I'm coordinating all these interviews with like all these executives, trying to keep my ear to the ground about like new startups, what's happening, how's the greater landscape of the digital publishing industry shifting, and audiobooks are moving pretty fast. In 2018, I did sort of like a 6-month wrap up, and there's a lot of trends this year that are unlike other years. Original content is a huge trend this year. Vinyl records is suddenly a thing. A lot of big name authors are releasing these, single or double LP record set, because records are making a comeback. Apparently, record companies are selling more record players now than they did any other year, except for like the 70s and 60s, when record players were ubiquitous with young people. So record players are making a comeback. Vinyl is making a comeback. So authors are trying to reach people. They're including a free digital edition when you buy the records, so you can listen to it on your smartphone or your tablet or your PC and so on. So vinyl records is like a big thing. And you're going to have to kind of pay attention to my end of the year report, which I've been doing for the last 4 years, and I'm super proud of them. They're pretty well the most comprehensive free reports that you'll find anywhere about the entire global audiobook industry. Talk to every retailer, every streaming service, every library service that offers it, both ebooks and audiobooks. I talked to, the Kobo, the Amazon, the Barnes and Nobles, the Storytels, the Bowl.com. I talked to like everybody. I talked to everyone across the publishing sector: Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, Hachette, HarperCollins, Macmillan. I talked to the audiobook engineers and talk to audiobook narrators. So it's epic, and every year they get longer and longer and more comprehensive. And they may not get a ton of comments, but they get a ton of reads. I think like the one I did last year had 1.8 million reads and like 3 comments. And it's sort of has sort of put us on the map in terms of the audiobook industry, because there's really kind of nothing like it. There's, everyone kind of keeps everything, like in the publishing industry, they keep everything close to the vest. Same with like audiobooks. Have you ever heard about how many audiobooks Audible's ever sold, or Kobo's ever sold? How many audiobooks has Google sold? How many loans has Overdrive made year on year? Those aren't information that's usually available. So I talk to these companies, and I get all the information that I can, and I extrapolate the rest. And so you can kind of get a sense on how the global audiobook industry is doing, and how it's changed year on year. What were the big trends last year? What were the big trends this year? What are the new trends going forward? And it's not trends that I make up or I invent. I mean, I'm asking like Audible, what trends do you see? And I ask like audiobooks.com, ask Overdrive, Recorded Books, Baker and Taylor, all the publishing companies, what trends did you notice in 2018? What trends are you going to do for the first 6 months of 2019? And I published these like epic pieces, and I'm like super proud of them because it's, yeah, I mean, kind of going above and beyond the Call of Duty, and I think I'm only able to kind of really only do that because Good Reader is my job. I know a lot of journalists who, I mean, there's like maybe one or two other ebook blogs like out there, like a kind of e-reader, e-paper blogs, but there's sort of these like one-man soapboxes. They only have like one person. We have like 2 or 3 different writers that write for us on a regular basis. I mean, Peter do all the YouTube stuff. It's like professional quality. I mean, we're the only one that really matters for the most part. We're the only one with like a podcast. But I mean, in terms of ear to the ground and news, yeah, I mean, if I had a day job, I wouldn't be able to do what I did. You know, if anything, it'd be like one post a day, maybe one post every few days. And would you want to kind of come back to our website every day if we only published one thing every other day? Probably not. I mean, when it comes down to it, you know, when you're listening to this podcast, you're supporting us. When you spend 10 minutes reading some of the articles I published on our blog, that helps us. When you watch a YouTube video, it helps us. You know, for when there's ads being displayed, we have like Amazon shopping bars. If you buy something from Amazon, we get a little bit of money. And all that stuff, I mean, it's enough for our team to keep on doing what we're doing, pays like all of our bills, and puts a little bit of extra in our pocket. It allows me to shop at Whole Foods and like buy organic produce and things like that. And so it's everyone who's supported us over the years that I'm tremendously thankful for. And it inspires me to continuing my journey on getting answers to unasked questions, and to ask the questions that nobody wants to seem to answer on a daily basis. So that's sort of what I've been doing lately, and you've been kind of caught up in terms of the latest news. Keep paying attention to our YouTube channel. At the end of the month, we're going to be doing a lot of crazy good things. YouTube.com/GoodyReader. You've been listening to the Goody Reader Radio Show. My name is Michael, and everybody take care.